tefillah tonight. Tonight we'll speak about the tefillah tal, which on Pesach we say Musaf, and then after we say that during Musaf we stop saying Mashvirach Min Agashem and Ashmar Esrei. If you're Sephardi, you say Morid Atal, or if you're an Israel, you say Morid Atal. Ashkenazim don't say Morid Atal in Ashmar Esrei. They leave it out, but it all starts with on Musaf, a Pesach, that we say this tefillah atal. So I spent some time today, basically compiling different Gemaras, Midrashim, which speak about tal. Tal is dew, and we'll see through the sources that it has a very interesting place. Chazal, they treat it in high regard, and it's not so clear exactly why that is. But we'll take a look at some of these sources, and then maybe if we have time at the end, we'll go through just some of the words that are actually in this tefillah of tal that we're going to say on Pesach, and maybe will become a little more clear to us, what it is exactly that the author of this tefillah had in mind. So I'm going to share my screen and go through some of the sources. Just give me 1 second. Sorry. Here it is. Okay. So we're going to go through a few different sources. We'll go through the first one, and we'll make our way down through all these sources, and it will I think it will paint a clear picture about how Chazal understand how they understand tal, why it's important, why we're asking for it every single day for some people. Even those who don't say, even Ashkenazim who don't say Morid Hatal in the Shemona Esrei, they still mention asking for tal in the bracha Barech Aleinu. So regardless, it's important. So let's go through the sources. First one is Pirkei de Rebbe Eliezer, that Pirkei de Eliezer explains Higia Leil Yom Pesach Zakar Yitzchak Leisav Bnei Gadol V'Amar Lo B'ni Zeh Halayla Kol Ha'olam Kulo Omrim Bo Halal Yotros Tvalim Niftachim Bazu Halayla Aseli Matamim. So what's he saying? That on the night, this is the night, the day where Yitzchak tells Esav, go out, bring me the food. Yaakov's gonna go and play with Yitzchak. It's the night of the big trickery. So what is the Pirkei de Rebbe Eliezer saying? That he says on this night it was the nightfall of Pesach. The nightfall of Pesach came. Higia Leil Yom Pesach, and he says, okay, this is the night that the Otros Talim, the treasuries of dew, are open. They open on this night. So this is the night that I want you to make this for me. Make these matamim, right? And so then the rest of the Pirkei de Eliezer explains. So that's what happened. But first Rivka went to Yaakov and said, this is the night that the Talim, that the Otros Talim, the treasuries of dew are going to be open. Go make your father some food. And this is what happened. Yaakov tricked Yitzchak on this night and took the brachas. Okay, so we see from here that this is why we start asking for tal on Pesach. That the Pirkei de Rebbe is explaining that on Leil Yom Pesach, Leil Yom Pesach, this is when the treasuries of dew begin to open. So this is exactly the time when we're supposed to be asking for it. Next source is Bereshis. So I remember that in Shiva, the Rebbeim there explains to me that if you ever want to understand what a word is in Tanakh or in Chumash, how Chazal explained it, you should look at the first time that the word is mentioned in Tanakh. So I looked, what was the first time that the word tal is mentioned? So it's actually mentioned in the bracha that Yitzchak gives Yaakov. He says, "Vayitin lecha Elokim mital hashamayim." It's interesting, right? That this medrash is talking about when the treasuries of tal actually opened, and then the first time we see tal is in the very bracha that Yitzchak gave to Yaakov. And so he says, "Vayitin lecha Elokim, may Hashem give to you mital hashemayim mishmanei aretz, from the dew of heaven and from the fat of the earth, v'rov dagan v'tirosh." So Rashi there explains, he tells you what tal is. He says it's dew that comes on the ground. But he says, if you really want to understand what dew is, he says, go look at the Medrash Agada. Go look over there. Rashi doesn't tell it to you there. He says, go look over there. So, okay. So I took a look. Medrash Agada over here. So he says, Vayitin lecha Elokim, and explains what the root of the word is. And then the Medrash says, very interestingly, Medaber bebeis hamikdash she'ator nitna b'tzilcho shenimshla b'mayim. Says it's talking about, right? What's the bracha that Yitzchak's giving Yaakov? He's saying it's talking about the Beis Hamikdash, so the Torah was given in it. Shenimshla b'mayim, that is compared to water. Shene'emar hoi kol samelechu mayim. The tal zeh hakadosh baruch hu, and the tal is really, it's really God. Shene'emar bo hayek tal Yisrael. And the Medrash continues, Davar acher vayitin lecha Elokim, explains the root of the word. Medaber b'Yaakov shaya Yoshev ohalim amar lo Yitzchak v'Yaakov vayitin lecha Elokim ba'olam hazeh v'yosif lecha l'olam haba. So we see, so it says talking about Yaakov who would sit in the tent. Then Yitzchak said to Yaakov, Hashem should give you ba'olam hazeh, he should give to you in this world, yosif lecha l'olam haba, and he should add more to you in the next world. So we see from the Medrash Agada that there's two aspects of tal, that of dew, what as at least Chazal's understanding of what dew really is. On the one hand, it's I think it's referring to Torah, right? Medaber beis hamikdash she'ator nitna b'tocho shenimshla b'mayim, that the Torah is compared to water, and that's where dew comes in. Dew's like dew's a form of water, and very, very puzzling. The Medrash says that the tal even is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Take that with what you want. And then on the other hand, the next Medrash is saying that seems to be saying that it's gonna be Yosef Lecha. The words I'm focusing on here, the words that struck out to me at least, the Yosef Lecha, that it's adding on to him in the next world. So the Gemara, so it seems to be saying like it has something to do with olam haba, or I don't really, not really clear exactly what it's thought to do with the next world. So there's a lot of Gemara to talk about it, which we're going to see. And the Medrash Agada first says that Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha Omer, this is not in the same place, this is a different Medrash Agada in Shmos. It says Yered Aleihem Tchias HaMeisim Shehu Tal Min HaShamayim. It says that Tchias HaMeisim is Tal Min HaShamayim, that the revival of the dead is the dew that falls from the sky. Okay, so I guess it gets a little more clear. And the Gemara Chagi continues. Says the Gemara there is talking about the different skies in the world. Aravos, Shabot, Tzedek, Mishpat, Tzaka. Right, it's talking about this. What is this? Aravos, it's one of the skies. And it says lists all these things, and then the Gemara says Vital she'aseh HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'hachayos bo meisim, the dew that the Holy One, blessed He, will use to revive the dead. So the tal we see is going to be the tool that HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses to be mechaye the meisim. We still don't really know why, and spoil it for you, but it was I looked very hard to find a source for why it is. What does tal have to do with being able to revive the dead? So we'll see kind of some sources, but nothing's 100% clear. Maybe we'll discuss if anyone has any theories, but we're going to see this theme throughout different Gemaras that says also in this Gemara, that in Gemara Ksubos, that Pasuk says Dechsev. So what are we saying here? So their master of God is not pleased that you of this ordinary Jews. Rather, the verse is talking about idol worship. Okay, so the Gemara is talking about anything there, and then it quotes a pasuk about Tal, the Sivki Tal Arose, Talecha Ve'eretz Rifayim Tapil, Kol Mishtamish Bar Torah, or Hator Mechayeyu. The Chol She'em Mishtamish Bar Torah, Ein Hator Mechayeyu. So this Gemara is interesting because it's almost like combining the two different themes of the different Medrash Agaras which we saw on the one hand that Tal has to do with Torah, and on the other hand, Tal has to do with Tchias HaMesim a little bit. And this Gemara is saying that we see a pasuk, and this pasuk says that anyone who uses the light of the Torah the light of the Torah is going to revive him. It has to do with both Torah and Tchias HaMesim. And then this to me, I think, is the most striking Gemara that the Gemara says in Shabbos Peiches. So the Gemara they were talking about Har Sinai. That the Gemara says and the Gemara says that the first dibor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when they were at Har Sinai, the Jews actually all died over there. So the Gemara says dibor rishon yatsa nishmasan dibor sheni heich kibuz. So if their souls left their body, right, if all Bnei Israel died after the first dibor, how are they able to hear the second dibor? That's what the Gemara says, that they all died after hearing the first dibor, the first of the 10 Commandments. So how are they able to hear the second of the 10 Commandments? So the Gemara says, Horid Tal she'asilach ayospo meisim mehachiyamusam shenemar geshem nidavos tanif elokim nachlascha b'milata chonanta. That what happened is that Kadosh Baruch Hu, he brought down the Tal, which is in the future is going to be what revives the Mason. That the Gemara is very clearly saying that what's going to happen when Tchias HaMesim comes is that Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring down the Tal, and for some reason this Tal is going to be what is actually what actually brings the Tchias HaMesim. And then one more Gemara, and then just one more Gemara. Gemara in Sanhedrin says, the Gemara in Sanhedrin is talking about, it says, how do we know, give me sources for Tchias HaMesim, how do I know Tchias HaMesim is going to happen? And it says, I'll bring you one from Torah, I'll bring you one from Navi, from Ksuvim, and it says, how do I know that there's going to be Tchias HaMesim from the Navi? Pasuk says, Yichyu, Meisachan, Nevalti, Yekamun, Kitu Ranu, Shofnu Afar, Kitalaros, Talacha Ve'eretz Rifayim Tapil. Right? That the Gemara quotes that your dead shall live, my corpse shall rise, awake and sing, you that dwell in dust, for your dew is the dew of vegetation, and the land shall cast out of the dead. Okay, so I think we've seen enough Gemaras. I think we know right now it's very clear that for some reason this dew is going to be what brings the Tchias HaMesim. And the question is why. So I'll tell you one theory. This is my father's theory. This is what he said, that he saw the Gemara in Sanhedrin and he remembered it. And he said he always assumed that the Gemara in Sanhedrin means that just like dew appears out of thin air, it's not exactly clear where it comes from, yet every single day we see the dew, it's on the ground. So too, Tchias HaMesim is just going to kind of appear out of thin air. The other thing I was thinking was that dew, when someone's amazed, when someone dies in Judaism, we're very careful to bury them. We make sure that they go under the ground. That it's very important. It's very important that they get buried. And so, part of that may be because it's the dew, right? The dew which falls on the ground, which is going to be what actually gives them Tchias HaMesim. And if they're not under the ground, how are they going to have the dew, which is the thing that actually revives them? The other thing that I saw regarding the power of the dew is that I saw from the Barbanel that as opposed to rain, we all know the power of the rain. We spoke about it, I think, around a couple months ago when we started asking for Mashiach Geshem. So we talked about rain. We said that rain is especially in the old times, rain was basically the only source of sustenance, and to be mashver, to ask for rain nowadays for us, where water's a little bit easier for us, we're not in a agriculture society, where our entire livelihood is based on the amount of rain that falls for us. So to be shoel for rain, asking for rain, when we ask for that in tefillah, it's more for us, at least, it's just asking for sustenance, like, do we have what we need? We're asking Kadosh Baruch Hu, recognizing that everything that we have in this world comes from God. That's what it meant to be asking for rain, because that's what Geshem, that's what rain represented for them. It was, it's totally controlled by God, and we can't control the rain. No matter what, we can predict the rain. We have weathermen, but we can never control the weather. That's still up to Kadosh Baruch Hu. But so for today, it's the same thing, that for us, we're recognizing that everything that we have in this world comes from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So, but Tal has a power over the rain, in the fact that it comes every single day. It's there every single day. You wake up in the morning, there's gonna be dew on the ground. You can be sure of it, as opposed to the rain, which sometimes comes, sometimes not. And so it's maybe this contrast to rain, which is part of the focus of tefillah. And I see in the chat that question, why don't we ask for rain all the time? Well, sometimes rain is destructive, as opposed to the dew, which is never destructive. So that's part of the power of the Tal. And just to go through some of the words inside, I see we have a teeny bit of time, that the author of this tefillah, he makes, there's also one more element to the Tal, is that there's a mystery to it, and that's said in the first line of. Sorry, one more chat. I don't know the story of Gidon and the dew, so if you want to share, then that would be good.
That wasn't a test. He tested Hashem with the dew, whether or not the dew would fall inside the circle or outside. And then that was how he showed that he was being selected from Hashem. We have to look back at Shoftim. Remember that?
I guess we have to look back at Shoftim.
Shoftim, Parak Vav. We'll check in for next week. We'll look at it.
Shoftim for Parak Vav. We'll check next week about the story of maybe find more about Tal. But it's a good horror. So, but the first line already you see in this tefillah Tal, it says Bidato Abiyah Chidot, with his consent, meaning Kadosh Baruch Hu's consent, Abiyah shall speak Chidot, of mysteries. And they explain here in the Siddur that part of what it means when it says Chidosh is that there's a mystery in regard to the Tal, in regard to the dew. That, okay, on the one hand, the dew is important. The moisture there, it helps make the plant grow. We need it to live. But on the other hand, in a practical sense, but also the mystery of it is, it's going to make us live again. It's going to be what revives us. We're not sure exactly how that works, but we know that that's true. And he says there's a few lines in here that you'll read when you say it on Pesach that it will make a lot of sense, because now that we spoke about how it's going to be the revival, it's going to be Tchias Amesim, that it says that this nation is going to be made exultant by the dew. This dew is going to bring Talgei D'Sheila Chadosh. It's going to bring joy. And then there's a line over here that it says Tal. It says Tal Lahayospo Nekuke Seifim. The Tal is going to revive with it those who are buried in the rocks, basically, which is very, very clear, very clearly explaining how it's the revival of the meat. And so I think these are basically the main points to keep in mind. As you say, Tfilas Tal, that things to remember, that it's, you know, to summarize, basically, it's there's that there's like on the practical sense, you know, what it do for us. It does help us live. You know, it helps provide for the greens, you know, make stuff grow. And then on the other hand, spiritually, there's two things that the Tal provides for us. It's a symbol to Torah, you know, which Torah you need. Without Torah, you have no life. Torah is Chaim, and then the other thing is it's going to provide Chaim for the world to come. It's Chiyas HaMesim, and obviously for some reason, you know, as we made mention from the Medrash, that the time that where that all comes together, the time where the treasures, you know, now the word means a little bit more from the Medrash, the treasures of the Tal. So what does that mean? It means everything that we just said. It's the power of the Tal. So the time that the treasures of the Tal open is on Pesach. And obviously there's a lot more, there's a lot deeper to understand, but just, you know, something that we can keep with us in our back pocket as we get into Pesach and start davening for Tal.